Hey, happy Tuesday. Hope it's a really good day for you. Signs of autumn are on the way. No, not the temperature that much. Supposed to be up near 90 today. But I think you'll see it coming before very long. Anyway, it is a great Tuesday. Wonderful time of the year. And I hope you're enjoying yourself. I hope everybody's being safe. And all that's something to talk about one of these days. But anyway, I'm glad that you're with me today. We'll think about a few things together. So come on into my little world, and I appreciate you being with me for a moment. In the 21st chapter of John, it tells of Jesus meeting some of his disciples by the sea. It's that time after he had been crucified and raised from the dead. And it seemed like he was kind of in and out. He was with his disciples and he wasn't with his disciples and so forth. And on this occasion, some of them, Simon Peter included, had been fishing. And he calls to him from the shore. Anyway, there's a great catch of fish. They bring it to shore and so forth. And after they've eaten the breakfast together, Jesus looks to Simon Peter and he says, "Do you love me more than these?" And he didn't stop there with Simon Peter's response, of course, 3 times he asks the question, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" And he's got a response each time. Great story. But I think the last one is the one that really strikes home. And Simon Peter says, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." I hope the people that you love know that you love them. I've told the story many times, and so if you've heard me tell it, I beg your forgiveness in that, but it's a great one. I love this story. It's real. It's true. I was there. It's quite a number of years ago. I was sitting in the back seat of my grandparents' car. I was a grown adult at the time. Anyway, sitting in the back seat of my grandparents' car, my mother was driving the car. Yes, I know that was brave of me to do that. Anyway, sitting in the back seat of the car, and my grandfather was sitting in the front seat. His eyes were not very good, so he hadn't driven in quite a number of years. But we were leaving my grandparents' place. They had a fishing cabin down on the lake south of Sweetwater, Texas. Anyway, we were leaving to go somewhere that day, and several of us in the car, and my grandmother was the last to leave, and she was putting the lock on the door to the cabin. The rest of us were sitting in the car, and as she locked the door and locked the door to the cabin and turned to come towards the car, my mother looked at her father, my grandfather, and she said to him, "Daddy, do you still love her?" And there comes my grandmother making her way across the yard towards the car. They're both well into their 80s. They're both very mature adults. They've been married for over 60 years. They'd been married 69 years when he passed away. But they've been married for over 60 years. They'd had 3 living children, one that had died shortly after birth. They had lived through World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, and subsequent conflicts. And there we were, and she said, "Daddy, do you still love her?" Got my attention. And my grandfather, without hesitation, said, "Oh, more each day, honey, more each day." Isn't that good? Don't you love that? They were good together. They loved each other. Oh, yeah. They poked fun at each other. They aggravated one another, but they were dedicated to one another, and they loved each other. I admired them and loved them too, of course. But I've thought about that statement, more each day, honey, more each day. As you think about that question that Jesus puts to Simon Peter, and he wants to know from Simon Peter, "Do you love me?" I don't know that there's been anybody alive that really loved Jesus more than Simon Peter did. Yeah, he had his faults, made his mistakes. Yes, I know he's the one that in a moment of trial denied that he even knew Jesus. But he loved Jesus. It's pretty obvious. And he wanted it to be known. And that had to be frustrating. But I think about that idea. Do you still love her, Daddy? And Jesus' question to Peter, do you love me? When you love, it shows, doesn't it? When you love, it endures. You know, Paul wrote those beautiful statements in the letter to the church in Corinth, 1 Corinthians 13, in that chapter we call the chapter of love. And he talks about all those qualities of love. And that's really it. It's not just a moment of infatuation. It's not just the beauty on the outward side that attracts and infatuates and draws people together. It's not just one portion, it's all. And don't you love the last of Paul's statements there? When he finally says, love never fails. It does what it's supposed to do. It does exactly as it is to do. Love doesn't fail. And it's not about selfish indulgence. It's about what it can do. Simon Peter, do you love me? Then feed my sheep. Love shows, and there's no doubt about it. I think about that and I wonder how many of us can offer that idea, I love you more every day. Because love is intended to be something that is growing, something that is alive, something that's learning and developing every day that we live. You know, those people among us, maybe you, who've been married over great lengths of time. And my wife says it seems like a long time even if it hasn't been. No, she never said that. But in all seriousness, over great lengths of time, we learn more about each other, don't we? Love evolves and develops. It determines more things. It understands more things. It endures more things. And when it's really there, like Paul says, it never fails. You know, and that's true not only just in marriage. That's not only true in those who've been married 60 plus years or more. It's not only true between Jesus and Simon Peter. It's true in every relationship. Of friendships, of parents and children, of children and parents, husbands and wives, of even us with the Lord. Have you ever thought about yourself sitting there with Jesus and eating breakfast? Have you ever thought about him looking at you and looking you in the eye and saying, hey you, and calling you by name? Do you love me? Do you love me more than these? Do you truly love me? And how we would respond. Well, of course, Lord, I love you, but what would it mean? And remember, Jesus said, tend or feed my sheep. It's a growing, learning, developing, enduring, patient, giving, determined aspect of our life. It's not something that just happens to us. It's something that we determine and do. Daddy, do you love her? More every day. Embedded in my brain are those words. And I know it was my family, and I beg your pardon for sharing just my family experience with you. But it was so powerful to me. Didn't matter who it was. It stood out. Yes, I knew them, and I knew them well. Yes, they did love each other. Yes. More each day. Let the love that you've got for others grow every day. Let the love you have for the Lord be one that grows in its understanding and its service every day. Let your love be an outward reach in a powerful way. Maybe this is not the traditional thing I share with you on occasions like this, but I kept thinking about that occasion lately, and it's been on my mind. And I'd like to think that if I'd been sitting there in Simon Peter's place, or in my grandfather's place, I could have said, well, of course, more every day. Hey, thank you for being with me today. I think it's a great day, and I hope it's one that you get to enjoy in a great way. And as I said before, I hope it's a blessing to you, and I hope you can be a blessing to others along the way. And so we'll share some more a little further down the road, but again, I'm just really glad you took time to join me for this little video today.